my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me for another one of my videos. So today I wanted to speak to you all about how to get over the fear of public speaking and sharing your message with the world. So recently on Instagram I've been asking what you'd like to see more of from me or topics you'd like to see covered, and this was one that came up time and time again. So I've done a podcast on it and I've done a blog post on it as well. So I thought it was really important to cover this just because there are so many people out there who maybe want to do what I do, what other public speakers and authors do, but sometimes like sharing your message with the world or sharing your truth or sharing your story can be like crippling to people. Like it keeps them away from doing it because they're like, I don't even know how I can stand up in front of a crowd of people and say, this is me, like this is what I'm about, this is what I do. So like to give you a little bit of backstory about like what I used to do, you know, as a child I was so quiet, if you can believe. Literally I never used to speak and like the complete polar opposite of how I am now. Like I used to be really timid, really shy, like I never used to speak to anybody. Like my parents used to have to be like, Emma, come on, speak, like do something, and I just was not fussed about speaking at all. To anybody, literally, like anybody in life. So I guess it probably came as such a shock to everybody in my family when I wanted to do this, or now they look at what I do, that someone who was so shy and timid now stands up in front of a stage of people and speaks to them, and like, you know, does videos like this, does podcasts, writes books, stuff like that. So it definitely is like possible to change, you know, how you are and your confidence, etc. But you know, it all just takes practice and it all just takes a bit of time to become comfortable with it and learn from it as well. So as a child, my parents put me into like performing arts schools and stuff like that to really help me gain confidence with acting, with dancing and singing, and I used to love it because I used to be able to escape from myself and become that character, and that's what really gave me the confidence, was pretending to be someone else essentially. Like as crazy as it sounds, like having the confidence of the character like really helped me to have the confidence. So I'm really grateful that I did do all of that as a child, because I really think it definitely helped me to find my groove, or find how I wanted to live my life. Like I really think it helped me to just find myself a little bit at that age, and you know that it's okay to be different more than anything. You know, I really loved doing all of that. I really loved, you know, putting on the shows and performances we used to do for our parents and stuff, and I just, you know, that's what I loved more than anything. So growing up kind of into adulthood, I would kind of say I think I just naturally grew confident, like in my jobs and the roles I was in, and I think as an adult I just felt so much more happier in myself. Well, I say happier in myself, happier in life, but no, absolutely not happier in myself, absolutely not. So I think I just naturally grew confidence as I had to go into work, as I had to interact with customers, and obviously the customers used to like make me feel relaxed and make me feel, yeah, like confident in my own way. So obviously I had to like sell things, I had to, you know, communicate and interact with customers. So it wasn't necessarily like standing on a stage, but one-to-one I had to sell like loans and bank accounts and credit cards and stuff like that. So I guess in a way like you do have to be confident to do that. You can't just sit there and be quite timid and shy and then like expect someone to buy something from you. So I definitely was confident in my own way, but that was again because I was selling as someone else's product. I was selling something else, like it was nothing to do with like Emma, that was nothing to do with me. And the same with acting, like I was always, you know, portraying a character, or I was always like, do you know what I mean, like I almost had this like alter ego as such, of like, you know how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, like when I would like be on stage and sing and dance and perform, like I would have that alter ego of the Emma I wanted to be. But in my personal life I just had no idea how to be that Emma. I had no idea how to be that confident or feel that happiness within myself. So really what helped me to gain a bit of confidence was in my extreme couponing business. Obviously when I got like sprung into the spotlight of press, you know, my face was on national newspapers, in magazines, like my story was everywhere. So really like that was, I guess, the beginning of that. And I did used to like really like, I had anxiety and depression at that time, so I used to really dread it. I used to panic. But then when I kind of like got asked to go on This Morning, I was like, wow, like this is my dream come true. Like I'd manifested the opportunity, it was a dream come true. I'd spiritually awakened by that point. So I was really excited to be doing that, and it was almost like I just had no idea what to expect. So I went into the studios and everyone was so lovely, they made you feel so calm, and there really is about 10 people behind the cameras. It's not loads of people, and obviously Holly and Phil sat next to you, so there really wasn't loads of people. So I think for me it didn't feel scary because I knew what I was talking about. Again, it wasn't about me, it was all about the coupons, it was all about money saving, little things, you know, obviously how I got into it were about me, but collectively I didn't have to talk about myself. I didn't have to share my truth. Well, that's wrong. I did have to share my truth in the sense of what I believed in money saving, or what I believed can help people save money. So I think this was like the startings and the foundations of what I was going to do, was by sharing money saving tips and how to have a good relationship with money and help people, and, you know, talk about my experiences, how it led me to that. It was building me up to this point. So surprisingly for me, live TV was actually less scary, like so less scary than a lot of the other things I had done in my life. I don't know why. I can't pinpoint why, but I guess because you don't know there's millions of people sat there watching you, I guess I just didn't think about it. I just thought, hey, having a conversation with Holly and Phil, I'm in a room full of like 10-12 people, like all is well. And I think passion as well absolutely helps. Like, I loved talking about money saving, I loved still talking about it, and it was my business, my passion, and that's what I really, really wanted to do at that time. So I knew that, you know, the passion would naturally give me the confidence to talk about it as well. So around that time as well, I went to a Tony Robbins event in London with my friend Chris, and we like I mean, this is the famous manifestation story. If you haven't seen it, go and watch a video. But obviously, like, it was my manifestation to manifest meeting him and giving him a big hug to say thank you for all he'd done, and like inspired all of my work, like awakening and going through my depression, starting my businesses, all of that. Like, he inspired a big part of the beginning of my journey. And he literally made me stand up in front of 3,000 people right at the front, looking at all of these people, and tell him and tell them my relationship issues. This is way before Mr. C. This was when I was starting to manifest the dream man after I'd obviously broken up with my ex. And yeah, that was quite, I don't know, in that situation, like, I look back and I think, what made you be able to do that? And it really was, I felt so held and supported by that room. I knew there was absolutely nobody judging me in that room, and it was a weird sensation to feel that the love that radiated off people was actually like bloody incredible. Like, honestly, like I said in the video before, it could make me cry, like thinking of that energy, because I just felt so held and so supported for the first time in my life, that I thought it's okay to tell 3,000 people my problems. Like, it's okay to do that. And, you know, I'd obviously done YouTube, I'd done blogging, so do you know what I mean? I talk about things a lot on this channel, so it's not like I don't do it, I just do it to a camera. Like, it's not like you guys are all sat here in front of me and I'm telling you. I'm sat in front of a camera, which is very, very different. And obviously I've had that experience all throughout my childhood of sitting in front of cameras, acting, you know, performing, reading off scripts, do you know what I mean? And then doing live TV, doing money saving. Like, I've always felt comfortable in front of a camera because it's what I've grown up with, essentially. So a camera has never intimidated me in this sense, because I'm like, hey, there's the power of editing, the power of second takes, not on live TV though. And, you know, like, I know I'm there. I don't know, it's really good. I never really like think about the people who are going to watch it afterwards. I'm more like, I'm here right now filming this, sharing this, and that's always how it has been for me. So to stand up in front of 3,000 people and suddenly say, hey, I've been with some absolute dickheads before, I've got some men issues, I want to heal this, was really intimidating and scary. But in that moment I knew I had to do it, I knew I had to say it, and I felt fine. Like, you know, addressing 3,000 people and being like, this is my problems, this is what I've gone through, felt safe. And I think for me that was like a massive turning point in my career, because that's when I realized, like, this right here is what I want to be doing. Talking to loads of people, helping them, like doing what Tony does, like helping people, guiding people, and yeah, just helping people transform their lives. So that was like a really pivotal moment for me to be like, I feel safe and I feel held to do this. So, you know, after that I gradually separated my brands. I then separated everything and obviously like transitioned more to law of attraction and spirituality. And then obviously when did I go self-employed? Well, I've been self-employed for 5 years, but self-employed in this business, shall we say, my Emma spiritual business. When did I do it? Oh my God, it's completely gone. Over a year ago. Yeah, a year and 3 months ago, that's it. The date went then. So a year and 3 months ago is when I did that. And obviously the Tony event was 3 years ago this October. Like, how quick has that gone? So yeah, like I just can't even believe it's 3 years this year since my life changed forever. Like, I'm like, where the fuck has 3 years of my life gone? Where has 3 years gone? Like, it's actually insane. And like, you know, to see my growth, to see how far I've come like since that Tony Robbins event is like insane, because, you know, I've got a book, like a best-selling book. I do my own events now. Like, I've totally transitioned into my spiritual path and running that full time. I do life coaching. I have my podcast. I have all my other platforms. So, you know, it really is mind-blowing. And merchandise as well, full-blown bloody merchandise range. So it is really crazy when you think about it. And the fear of sharing my message, like, I think when I first did my first law of attraction YouTube video, I did shit myself, because it was telling everybody that I was now single. It was telling everybody like I've completely changed my spiritual beliefs, and here's my experience with the law of attraction. It's completely different to anything you've seen on this channel, i.e. couponing, money saving, beauty. But this is what I want to talk about. So that, I think, was a tense moment, because I didn't know how people would take it. I didn't know how people would react to me changing the theme of my YouTube, changing the theme of my work. But luckily, like, because it was so bloody supported by the universe, you guys freaking loved it and were like, more, scrap the money saving, more of this. And that's when I knew that this was my calling. Like, although money saving will always be a part of me, like never, and I want to talk about money more, but in the law of attraction abundance, the kind of sphere, I knew that this was it. This is what I wanted to do. And we all grow, we all evolve, and that's the beauty of life, is that our careers and our work and our businesses and ourselves, we are all evolving constantly. We're growing, learning and up leveling. So it felt right to then move away from money saving and go into this. So the first event that I spoke at, well, I actually did my own event 2.5 years ago. I did like a blogging and kind of money saving event in London. It was a free event. And that was really good. Again, because I'd done live TV, because I talk about money saving all day long, it was just so natural for me. And it was a really nice crowd. Again, felt very held and supported, and I had amazing brands there to support me and my friends as well. So I felt very held and supported in that moment. So the kind of second time I was kind of on my own and talking about spirituality publicly, away from my YouTube videos, away from my blog, was at the Get Lit retreat last year at my lovely friend Aisha's retreats. So she asked me to come and speak, and I was super excited, and my friend Amanda came along with me to support me because she knew Aisha as well. And I had a half-an-hour talk, and I kind of thought, like, what the hell am I going to talk about? So I thought, like, because I didn't really know the vibe of the room, whether they were beginners, whether they knew it, whether they practiced it, whether they were spiritual, or just didn't know anything at all. So I didn't really know the vibe of the room. So that's the first thing I did, was like find out the vibe of the room, find out their experience. And a lot of them had never heard of it before or wanted like the basics. So that was really easy for me, and I was like, okay. And then it all just went out of my head, all of it. And I was like, fuck, like, okay, just talk about the basics, like, you know. And then I was explaining what the law of attraction is. I was like, okay, there is steps here we can follow, like, you know your steps, don't worry. But I don't know what came over me. Like, I felt so calm before, but at that time, like, when I look back to that event, there was so much going on in my personal life, like, which just had unsettled me, not in like a really negative way, but just in like, I felt unsettled in general, that I just feel like my head wasn't in the right place. Like, it just wasn't. And that was actually, I remember it so clearly, that was the day that I actually gave up alcohol as well. So the night before, I'd obviously had a drink, I'd felt so bad after it. So even that morning, I felt like spiritually hungover by alcohol. So that was the day I decided to give up alcohol altogether. And then I obviously had to go do this talk. So when I started talking, I don't know what happened to me. It was like verbal diarrhea or verbal vomiting. Like, I couldn't stop talking, and not even like this in just a like understandable, calm way. I felt like I was going a million miles per hour. Now, I obviously filmed this talk and it is a vlog on this YouTube channel. And when I watched it back, I was like, okay, you're actually really not as bad as you think you are. Like, in your head, it seems a lot freaking worse. I was just going like blah, 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 blah. And then my throat chakra was like fucking playing up like a mofo, literally. Like, it was just like I was coughing, my voice was going, I was like and I had water with me, but I just don't know what happened to me in the sense of why I wouldn't just stop, breathe and slow the fuck down and drink plenty of water. I think more than anything, I just didn't have a structure. I didn't have a structure or what I really wanted to talk about, because I've been thrown into that situation and then it all went out of my head. So when I look back to that time in my life, I can really relate, because I know I wasn't speaking my truth like in some areas. So I know that that's why my throat chakra was playing up, because there I was speaking my truth to people, but I wasn't speaking truth to everybody in my life. So that I can definitely like look back and correlate to, that's definitely why. So our throat chakra is so important for public speaking, for, you know, sharing your truth or sharing your message, because it is our vocal cords. It's where our voice comes from. It's where our voice is housed, and it's way more like than that. So if you struggle with like throat issues, like I get such a dry mouth when I talk, it's literally like I have to be like overdosing on water, but I know now that that is my calling, and that's what I need to listen to in my body when I do talking like this. So I always make sure now that I am drinking constantly, like resting, breathing, asking questions, letting them do something for a second so I can drink, and so I can, you know, really make sure that my voice is in the best place possible. And before my summit as well, because my summit was the next time after the Get Live retreat that I actually spoke, I mean my own freaking event, which I'm charging people for, I was in a totally different space. And, you know, I just felt so much more relaxed and so much more at home in myself. And that was because it'd been a whole year, like really, yeah, it was about 10 months since I'd done that Get Lit retreat. So in those 10 months, so much had happened, so much had changed, so much up leveling had happened that I was a totally different person. So I look back now and I don't think it was necessarily like anything that happened, but I know that I had to go through the Get Lit retreat and realize and say, right, you need to do some work here, like work on yourself 100%, but also like work on how you want to do your talks, like actually think about this and actually not make a plan or a script, but have an actual plan, but a loose plan, if that makes sense. So what I did for my summit was I took everything I'd learned from the Get Lit retreat and applied it to the summit of what I definitely don't want to do this time. So instead of giving myself a whole hour slot all in one, I gave myself half an hour slots, because I knew that that would be the right time for me to rest my voice, hydrate myself. And, you know, I think as well it's good like to not have the same speaker for ages, because then it just, you know, broke things up a bit and kept things interesting and kept things different and exciting. So that for me felt better, so I could rest and obviously rest my voice and be at my best. So before the event, I made sure that I was speaking my truth this time. I looked at all areas in my life and I was like, yep, I'm speaking my truth. I feel that I'm heard. I don't, you know, I wasn't having any throat issues or chakra issues before, so I knew that I was like solid, this was good. And then before the event, I really just like meditated and grounded myself. Hannah was really like awesome for this, reminding me of this. And, you know, I think the amazing people in the room who came, like, thank you all so much if you did come, because it just held me so much. Like, I felt so held, loved and supported that was all the confidence I needed. So when I looked at the structure of my workshops, I thought, right, this is hard because I cover so much stuff. What could I cover which feels good? Or like, you know, I looked at what my other speakers were probably going to talk about and think, okay, right, they've got that covered. What can I talk about which is really helpful to people, but they maybe haven't always heard me talk about on here or my blog or my podcast, etc. So that's when it came to me that I've heard a lot of speakers say that they channel. They just channel. They don't go in with a plan. They go in and channel. Brad Yates does this. I know he said at his event I went to. A lot of people I follow have said that they don't plan what they're going to say. They go in and channel and leave it open. So obviously I wanted to do like a few meditations and a few practices, like little exercises throughout my workshops to keep it interactive and keep it productive as well, instead of me just talking. Like I wanted to make it interactive. So I did have those ideas in my head of like the oracle cards, like tuning into my oracle cards. So I gave everybody an oracle card and they would tune into it and tune into the message. And then that led me to talk about intuition for a bit. And then people were asking questions and then I vibed from the room what the kind of direction was going in and followed that. So the first one was a lot about intuition, knowing you're the oracle, reclaiming your power back and trusting the universe. And then the second one was more on the sense of business, because people had asking more business questions. So what I wanted to do was actually get, you know, the audience to kind of ask me questions so that I can vibe what they need instead of me just presuming what they need, you know, vibing. So intuitively I was like getting stuff and saying stuff, but I fully opened myself up to that. I fully opened myself up to be held. And that I think is the key here of, if you are talking about spirituality, if you're talking about law of attraction, you know, not just necessarily them, but you know, if you are of the wellness industry and you are spiritual, to channel that information is really important, because you're opening up, you're saying to the universe, I'm here, what do you want me to say? Like, what is going to really serve these people today? You know, like that was really important to me to talk about that rather than just something I thought that they needed. So my top tips are absolutely channel, like go in with no plan, because the thing is, if you write a script or a plan, you're probably 9 times out of 10 gonna forget it unless you've rehearsed it like to the point. And I know that some speakers do rehearse their talks, but that for me does not work. Like famously, I'm a one-take wonder. Like I got that nickname through my money saving work, because the first time you would film me, I would nail it. You'd ask me questions, I'd nail it and it'd be perfect. And then they'd say, right, let's do it again just in case we get some better answers, and it fucking be shit. Like it would be awful. And they're like, oh my god, like you are made for live TV, you are the one-shot wonder. So for me, I know that rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing weakens it, because it makes me forget things. I then like feel like I'm repeating myself. Like it just doesn't end well. I've done it in numerous things in my life, and like learning things, repeating things don't work for this kind of work that I do. Just me personally, it may work for other people, but just maybe the way I learn, the way I channel, the way I communicate isn't great. I just need to do it. I just need to do it off the cuff, do it like there and then, and that's more, you know, more powerful for me to be able to get my message across in the best way the universe wants it to. So listen to your body's needs. Like mine is throat chakra and water, like water. So make sure that you are hydrated. And if you have any bodily things or chakras that come up when you're speaking, like probably like 7 times out of 10 it probably will be your throat chakra, because that is where your truth comes from. And also your throat chakra is also linked, it's made from the same material as your womb, so it is linked to your womb as well. So this can also link to divine feminine work, divine feminine things. So also look at your divine feminine energy. Is it balanced? Is your masculine balanced? Like really look at the two and say, is it balanced? Because sometimes that's why our throats can play up, is when our wombs are like not happy, or our divine feminine is not happy or unbalanced. So obviously I'm moving more into my divine feminine work now, as well as my masculine obviously. So for me it was really important to know that that was balanced, and know that all was well in both places essentially. So these are like little things to just look out for. And obviously there is a deep wound of like persecution in the divine feminine, of being burnt, drowning, or even being killed for speaking up about this. And this is the first lifetime where we have been free to talk about manifesting, talk about spirituality, talk about all the things in the world we love, spirituality, without the fear of dying, without actually being killed for it. So there is a lot of past life wounds, and I know in myself that I've been really lucky that I haven't had to experience that this life. It's been more of this life stuff that has affected my confidence or my speaking. But there will be people out there, and maybe you are one of those people who have those past life wounds and you are carrying that for the feminine, and that needs to be worked on and that needs to be healed. But what I really want to say here is everybody has to start somewhere. Like I did not do well at the Get Lit retreat. I got the information out, but it was not how I would have wanted it to be. It was not the best way possible, and I'm sure at my previous event I did, it was exactly the same. And I'm sure, you know, like I remember even the first times I went on TV, like I was just like, oh, I messed that up, I didn't say this, blah blah blah. Everybody has to start somewhere, and that's what I think we forget. We see these established speakers, we see these established people who have been doing it years, who have been doing it, you know, for decades sometimes, and we think, oh, I'm never going to be as good as that. But you forget that they have started at your stage. Like, we have all started from step one. We have all done our first speaking gig, and mine was terrible. I don't know about anybody else's, but mine was terrible. So I know that, and I mean that in the spirituality term. Like, I'm certain my first couponing gig was pretty bad as well. But from my first spirituality talk, like where it wasn't my own event, and I was fully like put on that spotlight of talk about yourself and talk about your experience and share your message with people. Yeah, like I just know that there was so much I could improve on that, and I went away and did that. And that's the important thing. Like, this is what life is all about, is trying things, doing things, putting yourself out there, and then, you know, afterwards saying like, right, what did I do really well? What could I improve on? What would I like to do differently next time? And then do it again. Like, practice is key. Nobody just walks into something and is the queen of it. Nobody just walks into something and they boss it on day one. Like, everybody, like, it takes practice, it takes perseverance and practice, and the more you can do that, the more you can just push yourself to, you know, just do it, whether it's in front of 2 people, your family, your husbands, your wives, your children, if it's in front of your friends, if it's in front of just a local community or a group or something, or even online doing an Instagram live or Facebook live. You know, just start it, because everybody has to start somewhere. I still mess things up. I go on Instagram live and I'm like, what the heck am I saying? What am I doing? Like, you know, but just open yourself up, especially if you are like speaking about spirituality. Say to the universe, set the intention before, like, what do you need me to tell these people today? What do you need me to share with people? Open yourself up to that channeling, open yourself up to that cosmic support and divine support as well, because it is there. It does want to support us, and when we trust that, and when we trust in ourselves and believe in ourselves, miracles happen. Like, you know, like I said, I'm just able to go on and do it now in my own way, because I've established what way suits me, what suits my throat, what suits my health, what suits me as a speaker. And that's the key message here, of you need to establish what your speaking method is, or what your, you know, like what your trigger is, whether it's your throat chakra, what it is, like what is triggering you. Is it that womb, you know, do you need to work on your divine feminine, your womb space? Do you need to work on your throat chakra? Do you need to speak your truth more? Like, look at all of these things, because when I did the Get Lit retreat, that shone up a big thing for me of, hey, you need to do some work on yourself as well. And then going to the summit like 10 months later, having birthed my book, gone through so much up leveling and learning, I was like, damn, this is alignment. This is what feels good. And this is why it went so freaking well, because I was in alignment. I had centered myself, allowed myself to be held, channeled, not gone in with a plan this time. Well, a loose plan of practices and meditations, but not necessarily the speaking part. And I just allowed myself to be held and trusted, and knew the signs to look out for, knew the things to do beforehand to make sure that it was going to be as successful as possible. So these are my tips. I hope it helps. Practice, practice, practice. Like, you know, the only way you're going to get more confident at it is by doing it. Quite simply. Like, look at my YouTube videos, the first videos, they're shit. I'm not confident, and they're frankly cringeworthy. My writing, like, look at my first blog post, bloody terrible. You'd think I was illiterate. I've just written a book, and I'm quite proud of how it's written, because I've evolved and come so far. So I'm not afraid to sit here and say, at the beginning, I was probably questioning whether I could write a book or whether I could do these things. But over time, and over, you know, time is key here. Like, over time, I developed and grew that confidence, and, you know, aligned more into what I was speaking about, and just trusted and channeled more, which allowed me to be supported. So I hope this video has helped you guys. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comments below because I'll reply to them all. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all your views and likes. Don't forget to join my free Law of Attraction support group over on Facebook, where you can join myself and other like-minded souls, where we talk all things Law of Attraction and spirituality. So you can find the link for that down below. And don't forget, my new book Spiritual Queen is out now, which you can also order from Amazon, Barnes & Noble and Waterstones worldwide. So I hope you have a great week whatever you are up to. Don't forget to subscribe because I would love to see you again soon, and I will see you for my next video, which will be next week. Lots of love, guys.